That's her guy.
Wait, is he blind?
But I cannot see. I'm legally blind. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Who's there?
Stay right there.
Okay, I swear to God. I don't know what happened. I just know what the police said.
So you can't see at all?
Huh?
You can see though, right?
I'm legally blind. I can see barely. Barely, but I'm an innocent bystander.
Come on, Miss Guido. Let's
Know
get
what
the
I'm
car.
saying?
So we have horror thriller Don't Breathe, and that's the part where I put my hands like, and I'm like, because it's a spookable movie. Alright, so I saw this advertised and I thought, well, this looks interesting, a little unique concept and all that. It's a usual break-in movie a la The Collector, but this time we have a different type of threat, a blind old man. And while you would think that it wouldn't be much of a threat, it turns out this guy's like a veteran or some shit, and then these kids get trapped and all hell starts. Yeah. And that's basically the very layman's synopsis of it. So yeah, I was immediately interested in this film. Just out of the blue, my friend was like, hey, I'm going to go see this movie. And I completely forgot it came out last weekend. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come with you and see this shit. And I saw it, and I did not regret it. A lot of pros to this film. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is probably on my top 5 favorite films of this year so far. First of all, go see this flick. If you're a fan of horror and or thriller and or shit that goes bump in the night and you want to go get a spookable but at the same time be on the edge of your seat and actually have a engaging, really coherent narrative that like, for me, it had me like tensing up. I jumped a few times, like I was laughing throughout because I laugh at all that type of shit. It was really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Getting into the basic pros. So basically, the premise itself is interesting. It's fascinating. I didn't even realize who it was, but we have Stephen Lane, who is like the old man in this movie, just the blind old man. You know, I don't remember if we find out what his name actually is, but otherwise they just refer to him as the blind man. And he was in Avatar as Papa Dragon, and I guess he made it home in time for dinner, because now he is a retired veteran who lost his sight in the war, I think in like Iraq or Korea or whatever, one of those wars, right? And they're these our main stars of it. Jane Levy, who plays arguably the primary female protagonist, which I like because it's while there are moments of weakness, she's a strong character in this film. She's a female who's not being sexualized, unless you you count part of the plot a little bit. She's a fighter. Bad home. She just wants to help her kid move to a better place. We have this goody two-shoes guy, Alex, who's played by Dylan Minnette, and it's interesting how they work him into the plot, because you think, oh, what's this honest kid doing with these other two people? Robin places, and by other two I mean Jane Levy's character and my least favorite character, Daniel Zavada's character, which was the aptly named Money. Very annoying character in this movie. One of the only detractions from it. But I digress. Alex, he is a well-to-do, fair enough guy, but his father works for the security company, and so in a pretty decent narrative sense, like it makes sense why he's kind of doing this. For one, he likes Rocky, it's obvious, and basically they're going around. The film opens and starts with them robbing this rich to-do place. They don't steal any actual cash, they just steal like property, and then but since the kid's father, Alex's father, works for the security company, they're able to get in, get out, no problem. So and Money, my favorite character of this movie, finds out that it's the same security company that Alex's father is at this house and all that, so they'd have a way in, and all they need to do is this last score and they're home free. Roxy can get her kid out of the shit house they're in, move up to California or whatever, and of course Alex is like in love with this girl, like crushing hardcore. Basically it all comes together fairly logically, where she's like, look, I need this, and he's like, fine, I'll help you out. And so that's where the plot starts off and all that. It's a very convoluted way of saying that's how it all gets kicked off. They break in, get to what they're looking for, but then, blind man wakes up, finds out who they are, and is in the trailers. This isn't a spoiler because it's in the damn trailers. This guy is very skilled, even as a blind man. Fucking just kills Money, doesn't give a fuck. And now we have our two primary protagonists we have Roxy, and we have Alex trapped in a blind man's house trying to get out and with their lives. Because this guy also has a gun and shit. So that is the premise for Don't Breathe. And I'll be damned if I wasn't gripped the whole time. Logically speaking, every possible out that you might think of as a moviegoer was covered. Like anything from windows to doors to a basement to whatever. All the things where normally in a movie you'd be like, oh my god, it's such a fucking idiot. Why doesn't he just go? They can't. It's taken care of. And like, it's done very well. Like every possible issue and solution is addressed and is always there, either in the background or the foreground. There's never a point where you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why couldn't he just do this? And aside from some poor character choices, but it works. It was just very well done narrative-wise, and for the sake of the film, what they were trying to accomplish, they did. I will say, one of the cons that I had, which I'm not to cons yet, but as I said, Money was my least favorite character. I thought he was a bit overplayed and annoying. I'm sure that's how he was written, and I don't blame the actor for the performance that he was asked to give. I'm just glad they killed him in the first act, so we can move on with the cast that I actually cared about. I liked that. So while it was a pro that his character existed in the movie in the first place, it's definitely a con. It's definitely a pro that they offed him so as to show this, shit was serious. As I said, the plot kept me on my toes. Some twists and turns and some interesting developments that happened in the plot. Now, it's funny because marketing advertised a small aspect of this film, or a large one rather, as one of the twists of the century, or like one of the best twists of the year. First of all, there is nothing I cannot stand more than when anybody describing a film describes that film and says there is a twist. I don't know if you ever took Logic 101 in preschool, but if you say there's a twist in a film, that defeats the purpose of the fucking twist. I was so lucky when I saw The Sixth Sense years ago. I wasn't told there was a twist. I didn't know anything about it. Halfway through, I called it. I guessed the plot. I'm not going to spoil it now. Well, I kind of already have anyway. Whatever. Yeah, fucking, he's dead. But yeah, and I was glad. Like, movies like that, where there's a twist, and it remains, it's only a twist if you don't know there's a twist coming. That's the best way to have it. If you think you're in for a typical ride, and all of a sudden plot just slaps you and says, no, deal with this. This is how things are. That's how you do a twist. You don't say, oh, go see this movie, dude. That fucking twist at the end is fucking mind-blowing. That's not how you do it. I know to expect a twist. And so I went into this film expecting a twist. And one of the cons of this film, it was a pretty weak twist in my opinion. It was decent enough to keep the plot going, and it made me stop for a second and go, oh, okay, that's kind of fucked up, but I get it. But at the same time, it wasn't like, oh my god, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening right now. Can you believe this? No, it wasn't like that at all. It was just it was a well-written, but not really unexpected, plot turn type of deal, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I went into it knowing there's a twist, and I wish I didn't know, is all I'm saying. Now, one of the biggest attributes I can give this film, and I fucking love it when any film can nail this, is sound design. The sound design in this film is fucking mwah! Like, oh my god. You do realize that all the things that make sound in a movie like this until your characters have to be fucking quiet and not make everything makes sound. There's a reason it's called Don't Breathe. Fuck, you breathe and the guy knows where you are if he's close enough. It's the heightened sense of hearing when you lose all the other senses, like Daredevil, but, old Daredevil. It's like, when you're trying to sneak around the house at night or apartment or what have you, and you don't want to wake up your parents or guardians or what have you, and every noise, opening a door, turning a knob, stepping on the floor, opening a bag of chips or whatever, is 100,000 times louder because you're trying not to make any noise. Put that feeling of tense and just on the seat, white knuckle, fucking, oh, hey, don't hear that, don't hear this, and put this into that movie, and bam, it's what they did. Every door that opens in this old man's house makes a different sound. It's from a creak to a resistant jerking to an easy to a wooden door. All the sounds, none of them are the same. The gunshots that happen in this film, you can tell both from a Beretta and a revolver, the main two guns that are used in this film. Every shot is distinct between the two makes and models, and everything from like the echo of the gunshot, that ringing, that little archer, that type of thing, and like the ricochet and all that, and keys jangling and footsteps on floorboards and all that, and breathing and the smallest little gasps and all that. Whoever worked on sound design in this film, and maybe I'll credit them here, maybe you can go watch it for yourself and see the credit, it deserves every cent they were paid, if not more, because they definitely, I don't know if there was just extra Foley pit work done, or if there was just extra effort put into it in general, but they nailed sound design. Props on that. It completed this movie for the premise of what this movie was going for. Bravo. And speaking of bullets and all that, I love how this film, and I love when any film has this film had continuity when it came to ammunition and weapons and all that. I love it when a movie, especially like Django or Hateful Eight, like every bullet's accounted for. I believe the Beretta they were using in this film had a standard 13 clip. By the time the guy runs out of ammo, I'm pretty sure there were 13 bullets. And of course, with a revolver, I start counting down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it all matches up, including, reloading and not reloading. Like, I love bullet continuity, and I'll be damned if they also not only nailed sound design in this film, but nailed bullet continuity as well. Like I said, both the narrative held up and the characters were pretty realistic. The character motivations made sense. And although sometimes they were a little bit silly, like the character, the guy, Alex, he couldn't shut up. Like I don't know, like whispering's supposed to be like this, and there's a way you can make it really quiet when you're whispering. It's like in the new Evil Dead remake when she's like, "There's something evil going on inside." Like that's how you whisper. Alex in this movie, the guy, Dylan's character, was like, I think we can get out of here. I think there's a chance. Like, dude, do you not know how to fucking whisper? But I guess that was just him. Like, she knew how to whisper. She was like, I don't think we can make it out of here. Like, she was, that was the only, it's a silly little gripe. And it's not even a gripe. I'm just saying, all the character choices made sense. What they chose to do, how they tried to survive, what they did. None of it was ever like, what the fuck are you doing here? Except for Money, because Money was an idiot, and Money got killed. And that's what Money deserves, to die, apparently. Of course, there were some really juicy moments of just horror, and even some, like, it never got gory, but there are moments, and when you watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, where you're just like, oh, and like if you're really kind of squeamish of heart, you're like, oh god, no. And like I said, you gotta watch it to know what I'm talking about, but there's a couple moments in particular where you're like, oh my god, and this movie has them. It's horror, it's R, but like Mad Max, it's not gore and violence for the sake of gore and violence. It's violent and brutal only when the script and the narrative calls for it. It all fits into it, but having that R rating gives it that extra permission to be brutal, which is awesome. Also, unlike most horror movies that are made nowadays, this movie did not rely too heavily on jump scares. While there were some jumps that happened, there was only one like obvious out of nowhere jump scare where I'm like, okay, really, dude? But then afterwards, most of them were worked really well into the plot, where you're going and going, and they weren't the usual like build up scare. It was more like oh, and just like surprising moments where you're like, oh shit, like the slow motion moments where it's like going regular speed and it slows down, then you slow down with them, so your reaction's just like, oh fuck, like that. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sure you do. Facebook, shut up. Now the only cons to the film, as I said before, first act kind of started like had me worried a bit because I really just did not like Money's character. I thought he was just overacted and overplayed a little bit as an immense stereotype. Facebook, I'm gonna kill you. Yeah, I was like really one of the only cons. The weak twist was a bit of a con too, and the only thing I didn't like, this might be minor spoilers, so skip ahead 30 seconds if you haven't seen the movie. I'm not gonna actually spoil the plot aside from saying that the ending is they pull a cliche horror ending to it. I'm not gonna explain how, why, or what they do, but when you watch it, you'll know what I mean when I say it's a bit of a cliched horror ending, and it's one of the only things where that made me in the movie go, really? You're gonna do that? Okay. But I digress. I'll keep this at hopefully a short 15 minutes or so, might be a little bit longer. I'll edit it down, see what I get from there. But that is my review for Don't Breathe. If you're a fan of horror, thriller, like to be scared, like a decent narrative in your films these days, good, hour and 45, 48 minutes, chunk of your time for an R-rated thriller, go see this movie. My final verdict for Don't Breathe is an 8 out of 10. Was it perfect? No. Was it the best horror film I've seen in a while? No, there are some ones that have kind of topped it. Is it up there among some of the ones that I really enjoy? Yeah, I enjoyed this movie more than I thought I would, and that's good in my mind. That's saying something. I'd recommend it to friends. I will definitely buy it on Blu-ray, but it loses those extra 2 points because of the character of Money. For me, just kind of was just like, you don't need him in there, and it detracted from a bit of the credibility, and just kind of one of those like, this character's kind of stupid. The cliched ending hit me a little bit, and the weak plot twist, all kind of combined so that it's not a bad movie, and it's better than great and pretty good. It was a really good movie that I definitely enjoyed. I liked it a lot, and I would like to see it again, and I will buy it on Blu-ray and such. But I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, really high, but not up there. So yeah, take that as you will. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, that was the review for Don't Breathe. If you want to see any other movie reviews, please check them out on my channel. I've already had my reviews for Suicide Squad, for Batman v Superman, Ghostbusters, Kubo and the Two Strains. I might even be leaving some out. And Stranger Things. I'm getting more of them out there. I'm not positive what my next review will be, but who knows? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, shall we? Anyway, stay tuned for the next episode of whatever I make. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye, travelers.